Mike's live. We'll just do a quick audio test here real fast. Quick audio test real quick.
All right, John on hold.
All right. Checking 1, 2, 3 on the audio.
All right, John on hold.
All right, we're good to go there.
Checking 1, 2, 3 on the audio. Which one did you check?
I just checked Twitter, so if Twitter's good, the rest of them should be good to go too.
All right. Yeah, they're good.
All right.
Well, at least YouTube and your pages.
Well, that means it's all good. All right, guys, we'll be with you in just a few moments.
30.
30 seconds to be exact. You just heard Greg. He's the man running the show there, so we're going to have some fun today. We're going to spend an inordinate amount of time covering the Walmart stabbings up in Grand Rapids and the just absolutely shit media coverage, in particular by Fox News. So we'll hammer them a little bit and have some fun in the process. So buckle in. If you're watching on your social media, please repost and get involved in the conversation. Help us with the ratio, don't you know? Let's do this.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
And welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, Armed American Radio's Monster Cast. Talker's Heavy 100 program begins right now in the Car Firearms Group studios. Mark Walters filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, and we're bringing it to you from the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center Ranch. Yes, indeed. And Greg in Dallas, Texas, how you doing, my brother?
Not too bad. Here we are. Sunday Gun Day got here quick.
I've been looking forward to this day for a while, particularly since the story broke in Michigan, but we're going to cover, and we're going to spend a lot of time on it, ladies and gentlemen, because the media coverage was, let's just say, it sucked, and we're going to talk about it in great detail. But hey, get this, a hats off to CNN for being one of the first. How about that?
Oh that's shocking.
To tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. The whole truth. Now, nothing but the truth. At least more of the whole truth than Fox did for hours and hours and hours and hours today. So we'll have some fun with that. Greg, we are live on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio, Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. And I will let you tell everybody else where they can go to watch us on social media, get involved in the chat. We'll go right to the phones. Dr. John Lott is awaiting.
Yeah, other places to watch the show are going to be YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, and select your watch live or listen live option. And if you'd like to join our live chat, just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, that'll do it. Wild hair today. I got wild hair today. I just couldn't do a thing with it today.
That hair don't care.
That hair don't care. Cruising around with the top down. It happens. Deal with it, folks. John Lott, crimeresearch.org. How you doing, John? Welcome to the ranch, brother.
Doing great. Nice to visit the ranch.
You've been here before. To see
you have a ranch?
There you go, Greg. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not as grandiose as I am, though, Greg.
I'm not quite as grandiose as you.
John, welcome in, man. It's always a pleasure. So a couple topics I want to cover with you today, and I'm warning you, audience, right now. I'm just going to tell you that I'm going to spend a lot of time on this topic because it needs to be discussed in ways that the mainstream media simply isn't covering it, and that's what we do here. And I want to get opinions from all of our guests today, which include John, AWR Hawkins, Arizona Representative Quang Nguyen, Paul Markle, student of the gun, Ryan Petty, Parkland father, and CEO of Car Arms, Justin Moon. But we start here with you today, John. Let's start with the Michigan stabbings at Walmart. A horrible situation up there, and a lot of things come to mind right off the bat. You think, okay, this reeks of Islamic terror. This is what's happening overseas. This is when they take away guns, knives are used. We see this all over Great Britain. Wound up, I guess, from what I know now, that's not the case here, but it is being treated as a terrorist attack. But, John, you had 11 people stabbed in a matter of minutes. And as I was reading coverage about this throughout the day today, it took hours for Fox News Online to finally address the fact that, well, lo and behold, while they were praising the response of first responders, John, the actual first responders are what you and I know to be the people actually on the scene. And it was the first responders, the citizens that were there, that cornered this guy, one of whom is on video with a gun, holding him at gunpoint. And boy, the media coverage of that aspect of this was derelict, to say the least. Take it away.
Derek Perry, I guess must be a former Marine, had gone to a shooting range and had just forgotten that he still had the gun on his hip, fortunately. And when the attack occurred there, he was able to use his gun there to stop the attack. Fox News did have something on their TV show where they, unlike the website, where they did have a statement from one of the witnesses there who said that other people who had tried to stop the attack had been stabbed and been seriously hurt, but that Perry, being able to use his gun, was able to stop the attack that was there. And so, you have people like Governor Whitmer, from the Democratic governor of Michigan, who praised first responders but made no mention of the civilians who stopped the attack. I mean, the attack was stopped before the first responders were able to arrive on the scene.
John, let's dig into this a little bit. Now, we all know the answers to this, but it bears repeating and it bears discussion. Why do you suppose Whitmer didn't mention that? While praising first responders and ignoring the actual first responders who were always there, and that's the victims and the people on scene. No, that's the real first responder. Why no mention by the governor? What is she afraid of? Is she more concerned about a political agenda being exposed than rather telling the truth about what happened in her state and praising the individual who should be getting a freaking award for what he did?
Right. I try to refrain from getting into people's minds why they do it. I mean, obviously, it's hard to ignore that she's been a strong gun control advocate, that she has advocated gun-free zones in the state. And surely, if this had been a gun-free zone, there would have been additional people that would have been harmed. But I mean, she is less of an excuse than places like the New York Times or Associated Press or Washington Post or NPR or the web edition of Fox News, or the BBC or many others that we could list, that ignored, didn't mention how the attack had stopped. Even their stories that they put out today didn't have that information. And so, but you and I have talked about many cases in the past. I mean, we, on our website at crimeresearch.org, we've collected literally like 50-some cases in the last 5 years where, according to police, mass public shootings were stopped by civilians with permanent concealed handguns. And yet, those don't get national news coverage. And the couple times when they do get national news coverage, the national media gets it wrong. I mean, we had a recent case in Michigan at a church, and the national media, to the extent that they covered it, referred to the parishioner who shot the attacker there as a security guard. And he was just a regular member of the church. No special pay, no special training. He just was a member of the church. They're not a security guard, but the media wants to kind of ignore the fact that you have regular civilians stopping these attacks. And And, over a longer period of time, there are many egregious places where the national media just doesn't cover things properly. You have, everybody knows about the Parkland shooting, but you and I have talked about the fact that there was another attack at another school in Florida, not very far away from Parkland. An elementary school was having a special honors reception there and had hundreds of students, had parents, had teachers. Somebody came in, started firing his gun, but because it was in a park and not in a school, you had somebody who had a permanent concealed handgun and was able to seriously wound and stop the attacker. Now, if he hadn't been there, if he hadn't been able to stop the attack, it would have gotten massive worldwide news coverage. The Parkland case was still getting worldwide news coverage, but yet nobody draws the comparison between the two schools. The media completely ignores that. Now, I can give you many other cases, which are similar. And so, my guess is that the entire gun control debate that we have right now would be dramatically different if the media would cover these cases where civilians stop these attacks, and not just one sentence. Even the places that do cover it often would just have like one or two sentences buried deep in the story that's there. Here you have a hero. And I'll mention something else. He's black.
Yeah.
You would think that would be something that people on the left would think would be great. I mean, it's just great that somebody like that has a concealed carry permit, and he was able to go and stop the attack. Here you have a real hero. You would think that would be newsworthy, but instead, it's not just the news media, but as we've talked about also, you look at TV entertainment police shows, and time after time, whether it's ABC, NBC, CBS, or Fox, if you have somebody with a concealed carry permit, either they shoot the wrong person or the gun's taken away from them and used against them, or they get in the way of the police. Something always goes wrong. And the research that we've done on active shooting cases indicate that civilians stop these attacks at a higher rate than police do, in part because police are in uniform, and that gives
John,
tactical advantages to these
let's go there when
attackers.
we come back, because there's a couple things I want to take away from what you just said. I was taking a few notes. Ladies and gentlemen, when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation with Dr. John Lott, crimeresearch.org, to see all of his research that he's referring to. We'll be right back with John. Don't go away. Mics and cameras are up for now, bud. Guys, I'm going to swap the video out here for just a minute. We'll be back with you at it'll be at 21 after the hour, just about 4 minutes, so hang tight. 3 minutes. Be right with you. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed. The Car Firearms Group studios are fired up for you today. Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. Mike lit up for you here at the Patriot Mobile Command Center. Great to be with you. You hear that rejoin from the National Rifle Association. Ladies and gentlemen, please keep it up. Many of you are. We are running out of the bags, but we still have a few left. We got a bunch. I'll let you know when we're getting really close. But we've got a few hundred of them left. We started with 750. We're about probably half of that by now. So join the National Rifle Association. Take advantage of it for a 1 to 3 year membership and grab that range bag for free. 5 years to life membership, either one of those two options. 5 years is a great option. That's what I chose. That gets you the 10x42 super high quality binoculars with the NRA case and the lens covers, etc. You can do that all at National Rifle Association, nra.org/AAR. That also gives you $10 off. It's $35 a year, ladies and gentlemen. Please help us. All the things you hear us talking about this evening really wouldn't be possible without the National Rifle Association. And we'll explain why, because they're involved in a lot of what we're covering today. That's nra.org/AAR. You can visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com or .org, and we're going to be making a big announcement on a new partner coming up this week on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense. We're super excited about that, and you will be too. Let's get back to Dr. John Lott, founder of crimeresearch.org. Dr. Lott, as I was listening to you in the previous segment, one of the things that comes to mind, you know me for a long time, and you know I hate the media. As far as I'm concerned, you just can't hate them enough. And this is a prime example why. And it really bothered me that Fox didn't cover it this way on their web. I know you and I talked earlier today, and they did mention it on one of the live shows. Not good enough for me, because I could easily argue that when you have a terrible situation like this unfold, the insertion of a good guy with a gun makes the story even bigger because of what could have happened that didn't. Imagine how many more victims we would have in Michigan at that Walmart in Traverse City, which I've been to, by the way. Lots of listeners in Michigan. It's a beautiful place, Traverse City. I did a lot of skiing at Torch Lake when I was a kid. I know that area well. And, when I think of the carnage, John, that could have occurred and likely would have occurred, it's just a glaring example of the dereliction of duty of mainstream press, as we've referred to this as a prime example of a lie of omission. And I'd like to see somebody held accountable, and that's just my anger. It's my cynicism coming out. But nonetheless, it really gets me when I see this, because as you pointed out, imagine how the narrative would be different if the press actually covered this the right way and covered it honestly, John. We wouldn't be having a debate with us on our heels. It would be the other way around if what we are talking about now were the way the mainstream media actually covered these type of stories, John.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not just that they would cover these stories, but when you do have attacks in gun-free zones, I wish once in a while the media would mention that, look, we've had another mass public shooting in a place where guns are banned. People would eventually get the idea across that, look, you have a year, it's 2 years in prison for violating a gun-free zone. For you or I, becoming a felon would completely destroy our lives.
Right.
We would lose our careers. Everything else would be completely messed up. But if you're going to murder 5, 6, 7 people and already going to be facing, 5 or 6 or 7 life sentences or death penalties that are there, does anybody think that taking 2 years away from their next life is going to make a difference there? All you've done is make it so that the criminal, the murderer, knows that they'll be the only person with a gun, because those are real penalties that you're imposing on the law-abiding citizens, and not a penalty that you're imposing effectively at all on the person who's committing the crime and committing the murders. And so, you and I understand that point. And we keep seeing over and over and over again how these guys write in their diaries and manifestos why they pick the targets that they do. And to me, it's just completely mystifying, because it seems to me it would be extremely newsworthy that people would find it of interest to know why these guys pick the targets that they do. But you will look in vain for any discussions when any of these people write these things in their diaries and manifestos,
Mm-hmm.
or even when the national police chief who got a hold of the woman's diary who shot up the Covenant School and killed 6 people, he even announced in his press conference the day of the attack that he had looked at the diary and that she had looked at other targets like the Green Hills Mall and decided not to do it because she was worried that people had guns there. Well, you will look in vain. None of the media mentions that.
Yeah.
Nobody, even though he mentioned it in his press conference, it was like it just wasn't something to even mention. And my guess is also if those types of things, either the diaries, those parts of the diaries where they explain that where they're going to do the attacks, why they do that, or that they go and they pick these gun-free zones and why they pick the gun-free zones, I think the entire debate, people would be screaming to get rid of the gun-free zones. Instead, they don't hear it.
Well, that's why they don't do it.
They hear it on shows like yours.
You're right. That's exactly why they don't do it. And that is more proof, ladies and gentlemen. What you're hearing John talk about is this is just flat out more proof that they are putting their political agenda above. John, somebody has to sit in an editorial room somewhere and say, take that out, don't put that in. It has to be that way. It's not coincidence that all of these outlets don't cover these things the way they should be covered. Pretty much that simple. We've only got a couple minutes left. Let me switch over to artificial intelligence. Oh, good heavens. Can artificial intelligence be biased? I happen to know a little bit about ChatGPT. I was the first individual to sue an artificial intelligence chatbot for defamation in the history of the world, and I lost the case on May 19th of this year after a 2-year battle with OpenAI, the founders and manufacturers of ChatGPT. John, talk about the bias real quick. I'll let you take it to the break.
Well, last year we had asked ChatGPT and 19 other AI chatbots a series of questions on crime and on gun control issues. So on crime, it was things like, do higher arrest rates and higher conviction rates deter some criminals from committing crimes? I don't know. It seems obvious to me that the answer is yes. You want to make it risky for criminals to commit crimes, but none of the 20 chatbots agreed with that. 10 of them strongly disagreed. The other 10 just disagreed. And you go through the different crime issues. They were all decidedly on the left. Elon Musk's Grok was the only one that gave slightly conservative answers on average on gun control issues. But,
30?
You have 30 seconds,
find
John.
is that these chatbots are no different in terms of their biases than things like Google News Search. If anybody's used Google News Search, they know that stories, articles from the New York Times or Washington Post or other leftist groups come up near the top of the search. Places like the New York Post or whatever may be buried on page 4, and most people won't get to there. And AI chatbots weight different types of information differently. And I had an experience that I wrote on that they can find at crimeresearch.org about one of the debates I had this last week.
All right, John, we got to stop you there. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, you can read all of it at crimeresearch.org. Dr. Lott's got it going on. Chatbots had no problem accusing me of stealing millions of dollars, though, from a Second Amendment foundation. Good heavens. We'll be back with AWR Hawkins. Don't go away. that feed.
Almost there.
All right. Is he in yet?
Yep, on hold.
Good deal. Everything's live.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason on KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker, and you're tuned into the Armed American Radio Network. Now let's get back to the man himself, Mark Walters.
Andy Hoosier, the voice of reason, Talker's Heavy 100 himself. We love us some Andy Hoosier, KQAM, Wichita's Big Talker. KQAM, Wichita, Big Talker, we love you. And all of you listeners there in beautiful Wichita, Kansas. Been up there and broadcasted from that facility. A lot of fun. Andy Hoosier will be joining us tomorrow. Welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group studios, guys. Make sure to visit all of our great partners that make it possible every single day. And we'll be making a big announcement on another partner coming up this week. I think you'll find it fascinating. You'll love it just like we do. So, Greg, that's always big news, always big news. A big partner, too. So that's good stuff. Big company. And a great one at that. Speaking of the great one, Mark Levin is on Fox News right now, and I've got two monitors going in here. And I don't know, why is he the great one? I have no idea. Let's go to a real great one. AWR Hawkins, Ph.D., Dr. Hawkins, Breitbart News. How you doing, AWR Hawkins?
Oh, good. Good to be with you, buddy.
I'm going to start referring to you as the great one on this show. How about we do that?
Well, that'd be nice. I'm not super great, but that would be nice.
Yeah, you're good enough. Hey, you're on Eastern time today, so I'm impressed because the time zone changes can make calling in at certain times very different and difficult. So thanks, man. Appreciate it. You're on your game today. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News. Let's get started. I obviously I want to start with you on the Michigan deal. I was just talking with John Lott about that. You know, armed citizens helped subdue Michigan Walmart mass stabber. You wrote about it. You and I talked about this throughout the day today on several different conversations. Were you as shocked as I am that the mainstream press didn't cover this accurately? Because they didn't. When they leave this stuff out, it's not accurate coverage, and it really angers me. Does it anger you?
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. I mean, it's like everything else. It doesn't fit that template, and you can't do anything to make guns look good, not if you're the establishment media. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Social media is running circles around the establishment media. We at Breitbart are running circles around the establishment media. Your radio show, same thing. So I don't really care. I just laugh at them. They're, in my opinion, they have fallen out of the good favor of the people to such a degree, and I'm talking about the establishment media. No one expects them to do anything right anyway. So they're basically just keeping pace with themselves right now.
And that's a great way to put it. I like that because it also begs this question. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're like me, and you are, I'm sure, particularly in the context of what we talk about in this genre of radio here, but as far as the topic is concerned, but can you believe anything that comes from these people? Ever? No, you can't. You have to take that with a grain of salt. You can view it, you can read it as a source of information, but you have to be smart enough to know that you're not getting the whole truth. And AWR, you work for a newsroom. Somebody somewhere in these large these large outfits we refer to as mainstream media, and I throw Fox right in there with it, that somebody's making the decision, don't put that in there. Don't, because it's not coincidence that they all do it. It's someone's saying that because of the agenda, right?
I would assume, or I don't know. I can't really speak for anyone else. I just know I can only say the way we approach a story is we want to cover the truth, and the truth, let the truth speak, and the reader will make his or her mind up. And that's it. People think I'll hear people say, yeah, but y'all just spin it another way. No, the goal is no spin at all. You can ask Alex, our editor-in-chief. The goal is zero op-ed, zero spin, put the truth out, and we'll let the truth speak. And that's just not the case for the establishment media, in my opinion. In my opinion, their position is carry water for the left, and that's just my opinion, but that's how I see it.
Well, it's your opinion is, I think, the majority opinion, because there is no other. I've never understood what is it about the truth that a mainstream outlet like an ABC, when I say mainstream, ladies and gentlemen, I'm referring to an ABC and an NBC, so we could CBS and an MSDNC and a CNN, OOL, and a Fox News. I'm not so sure what it is. What are they afraid of? The truth. unless it's they don't want to push an agenda. Why would they not put that in? It makes the story that much bigger, quite frankly, as I was talking about with John. The story's bigger than just a guy getting away with stabbing 18 or 20 people, which is likely what it would have been before he was subdued, before cops got there, instead of 11, because a guy was there with a gun. Why are they afraid of that? Why not just put it in there, as you said?
Well, in many ways, you got to think we're at a tipping point that the left didn't see coming. Started with Bruin in 2022. I mean, you could go Heller, Chicago, McDonald, Denver, or McDonald v. Chicago, Denver, but they didn't see this tipping point coming. Now you have Trump in, and Trump is actively he's not just saying I support gun rights. His DOJ has been cut loose to get rid of gun controls and regulations. The left hates this, so the last thing they want to do is contribute to this momentum by showing how effective a gun is in the hand of a law-abiding citizen. That's the last thing they want to do.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why they've earned the moniker fake news, because they're not giving you the facts. They're giving you the bits and pieces that they want you to see. And I know you're smart enough to know that on Armed American Radio, but it's your first time listening, you know where we're coming from now. That's why it's referred to as fake news, folks. It's pretty much that simple. They lay it out for you, and this is a glaring example of it, which is why we're going to talk a lot about it with each of our guests to get their opinion today. Democrat Senator Chris Murphy pushing for $4,709 NFA suppressor tax. You know, this is one of those guys who is, frankly, very difficult to follow, to watch, to listen to, because he is such a very FCC unfriendly human being. I can't say what I want to say about him. I cannot give him any FCC friendly words. I just can't do it. But the 4709 that he's coming up with, as you know, ladies and gentlemen, the omnibus bill, the big beautiful bill, wiped out the $200 tax stamp on suppressors and short-barreled rifles, and now he's pushing for 4709. And I'm going to guess, AWR, that it's because he wants to adjust it for inflation from the 1930s to today's dollars. And this is just proof that the left is trying to price you out of firearms ownership. Is that not true?
Yeah, well, yeah, especially a suppressor, short-barrel rifle, short-barrel shotgun, and machine gun ownership for sure. And but here's the deal. Ultimately, and I mean, I'm not saying don't fight, folks. Got to fight. And by fight, I mean continue to call your representatives and senators and have them oppose this. But ultimately, who cares what Senator Chris Murphy says? I mean, ultimately, as you say, when he talks, you know, what was that old deal, E.F. Hutton? When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Right? When Chris Murphy talks, a comb-over listens, because he's got the worst comb-over I've ever seen. And this guy can't really be serious. When I hear him talk, I'm like, this guy can't even be serious. He doesn't look serious. I know he's in love with gun control. He's the king of the gun control lobby, but they're on a losing streak. And someone needs to find video of him pushing this, run it as a commercial during the midterms, and let's just be sure Republicans pick up even more seats. That's what will happen.
I hope so. And Trump is making that prediction right now as early as today. I want to point out that you pointed out, that guns.com pointed out, and you noted in your piece that the Brady campaign, and I quote from your piece at Breitbart News, was quick to praise Murphy's push for a tax increase. Here's what the Brady campaign had to say, ladies and gentlemen. Gun control group extraordinaire. Thank you, Chris Murphy, for introducing this critical amendment to strike the provision in the big, ugly bill that removed taxes on deadly silencers and other uniquely lethal weapons, and instead adjust taxes to reflect inflation today. Doesn't that say it all? Isn't that saying all the quiet parts out loud, AWR, without saying it out loud?
Right. And why is a short barrel rifle especially lethal, or whatever her phraseology was? Why is a short barrel shotgun especially lethal, or whatever her phraseology was? I mean, what I'm listening to is someone who doesn't know the difference between, I would say, a can of SpaghettiOs and a primer for ammunition. And they're going to tell me what's especially lethal. I mean, come on, these people are so far out there. I guess losing blocks clear thought. That's all I can think of, because they're losing and there was no clear thought.
And guys, they appear unwilling to adjust any of their strategy to just simply accept the fact that as an American citizen, of which they are as well, have the right to keep and bear arms. Oh, but they're all protected by guns. I forgot about that.
Tim?
Forgive me. I slipped. When we come back, we're going to talk about Sig Sauer. Don't go away. This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back. Yeah, guys, Attorneys on Retainer, this is one of those sponsors, I'll tell you, that it's stupid not to have this stuff because it's such a no-brainer. If you carry a firearm, I'm going to repeat this every single day. If you carry a firearm, there's an anticipation that you may have to use it. Do you think the cat in Michigan woke up a couple days ago and said, you know what, I'm going to go to Walmart, and then thought that minutes later he was going to be holding somebody who had just stabbed 11 people at gunpoint? The answer to that is likely no. But you know what? He was prepared for that to happen, just like you are if you carry a firearm. Hopefully you're prepared. Most of you are. The vast majority of you. Something else to prepare for. There's going to be an investigation, okay? Now, this individual, fortunately, did not have to fire a shot. First responders, second responders, actually, were there quickly and subdued this individual. But if he had had to fire a shot, that investigation in Michigan would have been far longer than it was already because he didn't have to fire a shot. He's going to want an attorney. You're going to want an attorney, and you can do it in advance. Attorneys on retainer.us/AAR. Save $50, $35 a month, and you've got a self-defense team of self-defense attorneys with attorney-client privilege behind you instantly. Please consider that. I beg you. You do not want to be that person that wakes up and says, oh, God, why didn't I do that? Now you got a problem. Now you risk losing everything you've worked your entire life for, okay? It's not necessary. Visit attorneysonretainer.us. Go check out their program. Read everything about them online. Read every single review, and you'll find out, just like I did, yep, this is for me. Give it a shot, attorneysonretainer.us, and you can find all of our other great partners who we'll talk about briefly throughout the entire program today at armedamericanradio.com, armedamericanradio.com. AWR Hawkins, welcome back, my friend. So let's talk a little bit about SIG. You and I know the company very, very well, very well. We know a lot of great people that work there. It's a great company. SIG has issues. They have a PR problem on their hands. Now, we're not going to shellac over that at all because we can't. Now, we have ICE pulling back on the SIG P320 and its variants. We have the Special Combat Group at the Air Force. There was a death at one of the bases. P320 involved. You now have trainers across the country, ranges, et cetera, AWRs, you know, not wanting P320s or their variants inside their ranges or at their training classes. And this is spreading like wildfire. And you're now reporting that Holster Company, Halt's manufacturer of all Sig Sauer P320 holsters, and I'm going to assume that that's likely because of potential legal liability that they might see. What's going on here? Let's try to put this in some perspective at the same time being very fair to Sig Sauer.
Yeah, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, I just believe it's a PR nightmare. That's all I'll say. And
Huge
I think
PR nightmare.
They got to, I think such a nightmare can befall a company, and it depends on how you respond to it. And right now, I think that's where they are. They're forming that response. And, I've told you privately, I'll say it right here, though. I cover these stories because, as I say, you got to just cover. I write on the news what I do. Whether I like writing on certain stories or not, I have to write on them because you write on what's out there. And but for me personally, I've had trouble. I still have had trouble finding a valid example of one of these firearms discharging. And that's just me. And someone listening right now may be pointing at the radio and screaming and telling me, an example. I'm just saying I haven't found one yet. I've seen a lot of claims, but I haven't seen anything yet that shows me it really happening. At the same time, it doesn't matter to a degree, because even if all the claims are false, let's just say that, even if they're all false, there are so many being made that, as I say, it has created a PR nightmare. And that's where SIG is on this 320 right now. And so just watching, as they formulate their response, and I'll cover it whenever they have it. And as they make it, I've covered it. And, it's certainly, these are long nights for them right now.
Yeah. And I can hear people screaming at their radios and pointing at their devices and screaming right now with what you just said, because there's a lot of YouTube videos out there. And again, to be fair to SIG, they have won the vast majority of the lawsuits filed. I want to make that very clear. SIG representatives have been on the program to talk about it. Their CEO, Ron Cohen, has been on this program, the Daily Defense anyway, no fewer in person with me, sitting with me in front of the microphones, no fewer than 3 times over the last few years. And SIG has taken a pretty adamant position here. But this is not looking good, and their responses have come over a multi-year time frame here, ladies and gentlemen. And they're not catching a lot of slack from a lot of folks out there. And it will be very, very interesting to see how this eventually plays out, because one of the concerns I'm sure they have, if you've got the Global Strike Command, Air Force, and ICE and state police organizations around the country, is the military next? Okay, is there any infantry next? I don't know. I have no idea. But we are going to cover it like you are going to be covering it. And ladies and gentlemen, as this thing continues to unfold, you're going to want to pay attention to AWR Hawkins. You're going to want to listen to Armed American Radio, because we're not going to shy away from it. We're going to talk about it as we are right now. And as I've said before, every time I say this, SIG, who was just on the program in April, is welcome to come on the program at any time here, and I will give them the forum to talk about it from their perspective and not just what you're seeing and reading. All right. AWR, do you want to add anything else to that, or you want to move on with the last minute that we have?
Let's move on.
All right. So Ninth Circuit now finds California ammunition background checks unconstitutional. As of this show live today, a number of manufacturers have begun reshipping ammo to California, which have they not been able to do for a while. Out-of-state ammo purchases were illegal. California, I don't know why that's the case. I don't know why everybody gives them such a load of crap, because Gavin Newsom is clearly, with his new SIG P365, a friend of the Second Amendment. He said that anyway. But this is a big deal, right? Or is it? How long do you think this is going to last? Because we've seen this with mag bans, 30 rounders, et cetera.
Well, this is a big deal if it continues, if it stands. I mean, and I know the Ninth Circuit 3-judge panel just made that decision. I covered it. But if this is the kind of ruling that does not get overturned, then what this does is sets the unbelievable precedent, because this ruling, so wrote the judge in the majority, meaningfully, what was her say, meaningfully violates or something like that, the Second Amendment, meaningfully hinders. I can't remember her language specifically.
You're on it.
But if that type of background check does that, well, guess what? A background check for a handgun purchase does too. So we're going to have to take the next step. I hope suits will be filed immediately. This coming week, I hope people will start to file suits that background checks for firearm purchases meaningfully violate or hinder, or whatever the language was, the exercise of the Second Amendment, because they do. Because if you have a background check system in your state, particularly if you have a quote-unquote universal background check system and you have a COVID shutdown, then guess what? For as long as that shutdown lasts, you're going to have trouble buying a gun, because many of those same states that adopt those kind of laws do not view gun stores and Second Amendment rights as part of business that is necessary. And so they don't protect that business. And so your ability to buy a gun goes away. So we got to beat all these laws back.
And we're going to. One suit at a time, as the Second Amendment Foundation says, winning our firearms freedoms back one lawsuit at a time. AWR Hawkins, Breitbart News. Thank you, brother, for being here. I know you've been traveling. Stay safe. Travel safe. We love you. And we'll talk to you, no doubt, next week on Armed American Radio's Monstercast. Ladies and gentlemen, Hour 1 is now in the tank. Hour 2 coming up next. Arizona State Representative and Chairman of the Arizona House Judiciary Committee, Quang Nguyen, will be here. He was recently in Dublin, Ireland, and we'll talk with him about all the comings and goings, Second Amendment related. We've got Quang for the hour coming up. You'll find out real soon why he's a fan favorite. Don't go away. Armed American Radio's Monstercast continues right after the break at 6 minutes after.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
So, guys, interesting comments in the chat on SIG. And like many of you talking about it, I own a number of SIGs myself and will never stop carrying them ever. They're fine. I have a P320 too. I have no fear of that handgun whatsoever. None. I've had it for a number of years. In fact, I have the first model of it that came out, if I'm not mistaken. But there's a lot of commentary here on what SIG should do and what SIG should not do. And what I don't like about what's happening right now is, you know, you got the snowball is rolling down the hill, guys, okay? And it's tough to call it back at this point, which is what leads to the PR nightmare over at SIG. And I'm sure they're working overtime because we've asked them to come on the program But they're very busy over there, no doubt about it. When we can do that, you'll be the first to know. But as I said, they're welcome to come on here and address it. They have before, and they have not shied away from it. But there's a lot of questions being asked at this point because that snowball is rolling downhill. And we're going to be here. We're not going to shy away from it at all on Armed American Radio. When we've got something to talk about with it, they want to come on, welcome to do so, and you guys will be the first to know. All right, we're going to take a quick break. 6 minutes after, we'll be back. Arizona State Representative, House Judiciary Chair in the great state of Arizona, Quang Nguyen, will be here. We'll talk with him for the hour, and then we're going to roll right into a roundtable. So buckle in, folks. It's going to fly right by. And we'll be back at 6 minutes after this hour. Okay, guys, while I've got you here on camera, this is the range bag here from the National Rifle Association, specifically for you as an Armed American Radio listener. And I'm currently not using this bag because I'm keeping it here for display for you, but it's perfect. I mean, it's absolutely perfect. And it'll hold everything you need to go to the range. This is free to you if you join the National Rifle Association for a 1-year or 3-year membership. That's either $35 or $85. And if you move for a 5-year or life membership, you're going to get this packet right here, which contains, and it's the NRA logoed, emblazoned, and this is the 10x42 binoculars. And these are super high quality, guys. These are not cheap. All right, that's for a 5-year membership or a life membership. Take advantage of it. Get free stuff, man. When free stuff's available to you, take it. You join the National Rifle Association, rejoin the National Rifle Association, you get some really cool stuff in the process. $35 for 1 year, $85 for 2, $125 for 3. I believe it's $125. It's either $125 or $135. Forgive me, I don't have the page open. And a life membership is $1,000. So however you choose to join or rejoin the National Rifle Association, you get right in the mix. You don't have to donate anymore if you don't want to. Help the NRA move forward, and many, many, many of you have. When these are gone, I understand we're going to have another giveaway because we do have some other product. I don't even know what that is yet, but they've told us that we have some more when this is gone because they are flying off the shelves. But take advantage of this. Get the free stuff. Like I said, it's $35. It's worth it for the range bag by itself. And then you'll get the hat. You'll get the, the America's First Freedom is the magazine I choose, but you have your choice of about 4 or 5 magazines. Get your card from the National Rifle Association, and you're helping advance our gun rights moving forward. We're no longer looking back. LaPierre and the rest of them are history. Take advantage of this new NRA and help us, as the NRA is in every single state across the country in state houses and teaming up in a huge, beautiful way with every other gun rights organization out there and filing lawsuits on your behalf as a gun owner. And you can find the National Rifle Association. It's real simple. You can just go to armedamericanradio.com or .org. We got you covered. Click on the NRA logo. It will take you right there. You'll see pictures of this stuff up here. And join the NRA. Please help us. We need your assistance. It supports this program. It supports the NRA. It supports your gun rights. It is a win-win-win. And you get free stuff. And one of you is going to win a second range bag loaded with all kinds of cool stuff. At the time all these are gone, we'll make that announcement when it happens. And I understand we've got more coming, so we're going to keep it going for a while. So as many of you that want one can get one, okay? Visit armedamericanradio.com and check out all of our great partners. We'll be back, as I said, in about 3 minutes at 6 after. Thanks.
All right.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
All right, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's second hour begins right now. If you're just joining the program, welcome aboard. If you're rejoining, welcome back. You're in the Car Firearms Group studios with me. We are on hundreds of radio stations around the nation and tons of cable outlets as well. I guess Comcast, Xfinity, and Cox, and some others. So we're being heard all over the place, and we thank all of our affiliates and all of our great listeners and all of our great partners. We have a big announcement on a new partner coming up next week. I will tell you this. If you want to get that inside dope, Greg will tell you how to join the chat because I just notified everybody in the chat only who that partner is, and it's a big thumbs up from a lot of folks in the chat, from everybody in the chat at this point. So yeah, you want to do that, Greg? You know, you get that inside dope, right? It's always kind of fun to do. But hey, we're live on Facebook, facebook.com/Armed American Radio, or facebook.com/ it's Armed American Radio. Don't use the abbreviation. That'll take you there. You can watch us over there, and you can visit all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. Of course, we're in the Car Firearms Group studios with you. Make sure to check them out. Get you a Tommy gun. Car owns Thompson. I have one, and those things are great. And they've always got new models coming out. Some really cool stuff. And, of course, we're on the Patriot Mobile microphone here at, Patriot Mobile microphone only for a few more days, but we are at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center at the ranch, and you can join Patriot Mobile as well and activate your phone over there and give your money to a company that supports your gun rights. All these great partners, and they're all there for you, ladies and gentlemen. Greg, where else can everybody watch the program and participate in the chat, and we'll get it cracking?
Sure. You can also watch the show over on YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark, and you can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, and then select your watch live or listen live options. In order to get in on the exclusives and the memes over on the chat, we'll just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
Yeah, the left hates Telegram. That means you should love Telegram.
Yep.
Pretty much that simple.
Absolutely.
All right, let's go to our first guest and only guest for the hour, Quang Nguyen, fan favorite, Arizona State Representative, Arizona House Judiciary Chair, and a good friend of mine, ladies and gentlemen. That means he's a good friend of yours. Quang, welcome in, my brother. How are you? I got you for an hour. We going to find something to talk about?
That's awesome. We got 3 or 4 things to talk about, but always glad to be on Sunday with you.
I missed you when you were in Dublin. You were in Dublin. Did you have a Guinness? Did you have a Guinness while you were in Dublin? I just got to ask.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The Irish style. This was wonderful. 12 days away from the legislature and finally spending some time with my wife. You know, after 5 years of being in office, and we didn't have a single vacation. So, you know, it was really nice. It was really nice to be away from work.
Yeah, I took 4 days with my beautiful daughter and went to Key West, and I just kind of said the hell with it. It'll all be here when I get back, Quang, and I guess you know how that feels.
That's right. That's right. All the Democrats are just on standby right now waiting for me to come back.
You just come back and turn it on, and they just never go away. As Ryan Petty says, the left will never stop, ever. So I got to ask you on a Guinness standpoint, because I've never been to Dublin. I've never been to Ireland. Is the Guinness stronger and better over there than it is here in cans and bar pours in the United States?
You know, it's so much more smooth. It's creamy, it's silky, and it's almost like you're not tasting the alcohol.
Because it's like that anyway.
You have a couple of them, and all of a sudden it's really nice. It's just really, really nice, and it's a lot nicer, I think, what we have in the States here.
Is it warm?
Can't go wrong when no, actually it was kind of cooler, not like Germany when beer is served warm, but you have it, and it's just really nice. You want to have another one right away.
Yeah, well, I got no problem with that. I love Guinness. I've always said Guinness is milk, and when I drink a Guinness, I'll tell the bartender, hand me that one, and take 15 minutes to pour it, and as soon as I get it, I say, start another pour, and because I just love
exactly.
Guinness, right?
And
so
I have this habit when I travel. is I try to get behind a counter and pretend that I'm working the job. I mean, I did that in Israel and in Taiwan, in Germany, everywhere I went, I would try to get behind a counter to do something. I did the same thing this time, and they asked me to serve beer, the Guinness, to customers. So that was really awesome.
I bet it was. So I got to ask, many of our listeners might follow you on social media. And when I originally saw this while you were over in Ireland with your beautiful wife, you had put a post up that you had gotten kind of bloody, and you said, "Don't worry about it. It wasn't me." Something happened while you were there, and I read into that when I first saw the post that, "Ooh, Quang kicked somebody's tail over there." But that's not what happened. You actually saved somebody's life, didn't you? What happened here? I'm just curious because we're going to talk about this in the roundtable. Being prepared. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we were, my wife and I were visiting an old university. It's called Trinity College in Dublin. And we were heading out to the gate, trying to catch some dinner or something. And this sort of like 6'3", 6'4" guy, all muscular like a Viking, went into a seizure and he fell backwards like a log. And his head, kind of hit the cobblestone. And so, I was 30, 35 feet away, and I just took my brand new hoodie off, and I just raced toward the guy. And my wife is an RN, so she's right next to me, and it pulled up pretty quickly. The blood was just pulling up real quickly, and so I trying to roll the guy over with the help with another tourist, and my wife used my brand new hoodie and wrapped it around his head. And, long story short, it was just soaked in blood, and my wife's, her hands were just completely bloody. And the cop wanted me to, he asked me if I wanted to take the hoodie with me. And I kind of like, no, I don't think so. So they disposed of it. But I think he was okay. There was a doctor that was coming by, and then EMT came and the cops came. And so I hope he's okay. I don't know. I actually don't know.
Well, there's a moral to this story, ladies and gentlemen. The reason I wanted to ask Quang about this, because what does this have to do with guns or gun rights? Well, it has everything to do with guns or gun rights. In fact, coming up in the roundtable, based on what happened in Michigan, Quang, we're going to be talking about you being the first responder. And here you have, civilians at this Walmart that were the first responder in Traverse City, Michigan. They were the first responders. And thank God there was somebody there with a gun, held him at gunpoint. And if you watch the video, it's up on a Facebook page. I'm not sure where it is, but you can find it, ladies and gentlemen. It's up there. Some of the fake news outlets are now running the video in its entirety. Some of it blocked out. But you can see civilians doing very similar things to what you did. And what this is, ladies and gentlemen, the moral of this story is, again, if you carry a firearm, it's even more incumbent upon you to be able to be prepared in the event something happens. Just like Quang, instant reaction, knew what to do, had somebody there that was capable, your wife being an RN, and actually don't walk away or pick up your stupid phone and film it, but actually go there and try to help somebody. And when you're a first responder, ladies and gentlemen, again, this is just more, it's part of the moral of the story. You've got to be prepared to save a life. And it might not be being able to pull a gun and defending yourself, but it might be, as Quang did, to be able to react instantly because you are prepared. And we're going to talk about some of that kind of stuff as it pertains to gun rights and carrying a firearm in the next hour. So, Quang, congratulations. I'm sure that gentleman thanks you, and hopefully he's okay. So there you were, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, thanks, buddy.
Doing the work of the people, even when he's in Dublin in between Guinnesses. Gotta love you, Quang, for a reason. All right, so let's talk with the remaining minute or two that we have in this segment. Let's talk about Michigan. Mainstream media never covered the fact that armed civilian were there to stop this lunatic and probably save countless lives because someone was there with a gun. Is the media derelict in their responsibilities, and how do we hold them accountable?
Oh, absolutely. You did a fantastic job in calling them out on Twitter X. I really appreciate that, and I retweeted it. But we live in a society where the truth is not being displayed at all. I mean, obviously, the guy had a gun right there. Thank God he was there. And there was some criticism about the way he held the gun. I don't care.
Right.
Look, he put a gun out, and he stopped the guy from killing more people. And so, I just don't understand the media at all. Even Fox News, right?
Yeah.
Just skip that whole entire thing about the guy coming out, holding the gun and hold the guy at bay. It's just ridiculous. But, I don't know how to fix that. All we can do is we'll have people like you and me calling them out on social media.
And this, it's why we have it. I think it was John Lott that said before a couple years ago, it's why we have the radio show, is to be able to talk about these things. Imagine if there was no social media, or if there was no national radio, or there were no podcasts that could call this out. The mainstream media would just be running circles around you, and they just have not yet figured out, ladies and gentlemen, as we take you to the break, that we are out here, that we do call them out. And I'd like to think that because of the response on social media, because of the Twitter X's that we put out, mine's already got well over 10,000 views, I think, from when we first put it out, that Fox is paying attention, because they were called out all over social media for not covering this the way they should have covered it. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about veterans. We'll talk a little bit about Arizona, and maybe talk about banning buck knives with Quang Nguyen. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. And cameras are up. The mic's up. Hold on, I'm gonna grab it. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back to the show indeed, ladies and gentlemen. You hear we're talking about the NRA all the time. If you were watching during the breaks at the top of the hour, I held up that range bag and that set of binoculars that you're going to get if you join for 1 year to 3 years or 5 years to a life membership. So make sure to visit nra.org/AAR. Make sure to check out attorneysonretainer.us/AAR and get $50 off and have an attorney in your hip pocket that specializes in nothing but self-defense. You can also pick up Defender Coffee and support your favorite gun rights organization simply by drinking great coffee and giving money through just buying the coffee. You don't have to spend anything else. You don't have to dig into your couch. All right? It's that simple. Just drink Defender Coffee. Pretty easy to do. Emerson Knives has you covered with some of the greatest American-made blades anywhere. Emerson Knives. Ernie Emerson and his family, they make the best of the best. You hear him here on the program from time to time. They are great people. They make great American products. Make sure to check them out. And don't forget, budsgunshop.com, our exclusive online retailer, budsgunshop.com, budsgunshop.com. And I believe they are going to be in Knoxville. I will be in Knoxville, it looks like now. My travel schedule is apparently opening up. I'll be able to solidify that next week, but we'll be heading up to Knoxville for the Gun Owners of America to meet with all of our great partners that are there. And if you're there, come shake our paw. Be fun to meet you. Always is. Make sure to check out all of our great partners at armedamericanradio.com. You can find them all there. Quang Nguyen, Arizona State Representative and House Judiciary Chair. Welcome back, my brother, from another mother.
Yes, sir.
All right, so
let's talk about banning knives.
Yeah, let's go there. Let's go there. Because apparently after what happened in Michigan, maybe we should reconsider. Maybe we should ban buck knives because that's what he used, wasn't it? At least that's the picture I saw.
Yeah, I want to be on the serious side of this. When are we ever going to realize that we don't have violent tools? We only have violent people. When are we going to go there and talk about violent people? I mean, you've been to my office, right, Mark? Mm-hmm. There are 4 K-bars sitting on my desk, and they've been there for about 3 months now. And guess what? Not a single paper cut of any type.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on. I got to ask this because I have seen those K-bars. So you mean to tell me that you haven't even considered going to an off-campus college apartment and murdering 4 people because you have K-bars?
Yeah, I got those K-bars, but I'm sort of like a normal guy, just like you, walking around, respecting the law, respecting lives, respecting humanity. We just don't like to do things that are outside of what we believe in. I mean, I have a Christian foundation that I live by, and so I don't know how these K-bars sort of want to get into my hands, and so I can go down to the floor there and start stabbing people.
Listen.
It just doesn't.
Well, it's kind of macabre. It's a macabre way to talk about it. But the reason I bring it up is because that Brian Koberger loser in Idaho murdered 4 beautiful people with a K-bar. Now, I don't recall hearing, and this just popped in my head, but I do not recall hearing from anybody on the left that the K-bar knife needs to be banned. Did I miss that? And I'm asking a serious question. It's not tongue-in-cheek. I don't recall reading that. Do you?
Nope. I can't remember reading about it. But I'm telling you, we have to readjust our head. I mean, you and I are there. It's just the rest of the media and the rest of the left side. I mean, they just believe in getting rid of those buck knives is going to prevent these 11 people from being stabbed. It just doesn't make any sense at all. But then, again, I'm a Republican.
You were just in Europe. Knives, they talk about banning knives. They talk about blunt ends, rounding off the tips. They've already got rid of everybody's guns. Now we're going to round off the tip of a knife. I mean, it's just nonstop. And while, yes, a little bit tongue-in-cheek here, I am being serious. I wasn't being facetious about that with that question. I do not recall seeing anybody from the left say we should ban the K-bar knife that Brian Koberger used to murder those 4 beautiful kids and now spending the rest of his life rotting what's left of it, because once he gets put in GP, ladies and gentlemen, that's documentary lingo for general population if you like the prison documentaries like I do. But the guy's toast. I don't He's got a Jeffrey Dahmer future ahead of him, and I hope he does. But I don't recall seeing that, and that is a legitimate question. Why is that? Why is it just the gun? Why is it not every other implement of a murderer or a thief or a criminal or a robber? If somebody's using a baseball bat or a broken table leg or a knife, whatever it is, why is it only the gun, Quang? Why?
I have no idea, but this I will tell you. I spent 12 days in Ireland. And my wife and I are walking about in the evening, late evening, and I feel naked as hell.
Yeah.
I don't have my guns with me. I'm in a country where you're not allowed to have guns. And I'm walking around praying that I'm not going to be mugged and my wife is not going to be hurt. It is so un-American. By the time the 8th day came around, all I can think about is, I want to go home. I want to be safe. I want to be driving on the right-hand side instead of committing suicide every day, driving on the left-hand side without a gun.
Driving on the left side is tough enough anyway, and without a gun, it's even worse, right? So that you bring up a great point. You felt unsafe? Obviously, I get it because I carry a firearm as well too. The old Clint Smith deal, right? Pants on, gun on. I mean, it's pretty much that simple. But I have to ask: Did you ever encounter any situation there where you felt like maybe I should cross the street, or maybe we shouldn't go there, or I don't feel right, or maybe let's not go out at this time? Did that cross your mind? And if so, were you just
it crossed my mind, but the idea of getting a Guinness late at night is kind of attractive. Mm-hmm. So you kind of risk your life there a little bit. But you know what? I felt uncomfortable. It didn't matter on which side of the street. It didn't matter if I was in a bar. It didn't matter if I was in a restaurant. I just felt totally naked without my Glock on me. And so, but, you're on vacation, you kind of have to put up with it. But, this is where if you want to know how you love the United States, all you have to do is spend a little bit of time somewhere else. And you come to the realization that there's no better place than home, right? So I grew up in Vietnam. That's even worse, right? Third world country, no food, no guns. Everybody else got a guns except for us kids. So, you appreciate America so much better. I mean, like I said, by around the 8th day or so, I just wanted to come home.
Yeah, I kind of felt over it. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been in American cities without a gun,
right?
Because I was barred from having a gun to a particular place I was going or something like that, and was very uncomfortable, and did actually have to adjust my actions and my activities because of things that were going on around me. And I was in that same situation where you feel butt naked, man. You just do, because you don't have
You and I are about to go to Salt Lake City here soon, and I don't know about you, but I'm not going to have a gun on me.
Oh, you'll be in a room with plenty of them, I can promise you, because I will. So don't worry about it.
Okay,
Hey, we're getting ready to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk with you a little bit about North Carolina lawmakers. They're convening on the 29th in 2 days on Tuesday in an attempt to override the governor's veto to get us constitutional carry in the 30th state. And I also want to talk about some things that are going on in the great state of Arizona. Now that the legislative session is over, all of the things that you did to stop the anti-gunners and what you expect them to do coming up in the next legislative session, even in the free state of Arizona. We're talking with Quang Nguyen, Arizona State Representative and Chairman of Arizona's House Judiciary. We'll be back with Quang right after this.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher wanting to let you know that the crew of the Desperado Sport Fish in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and the Second Amendment, and I'm right there with them. Now back to Mark Walters.
Oh, and he is right there with us too, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio. Welcome back. Monster Cast continues. I am Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day. And on the Sunday broadcast, we're in the Car Firearms Group studios here at the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center. Welcome back in with me. Please go out of your way. Please go out of your way and visit all of our partners. Don't forget, Barrel Buddy is out there, and we will have a promo code for you this week. It'll be AAR. I'll tell you when that's active. Hopefully tomorrow it'll be active. BarrelBuddy.com. Pitch the patch, clean your guns the right way. Barrel Buddy. 2 swipes while you're at the range, goes right back in your holster, right back in your range bag. Hopefully one of these NRA range bags because you joined or rejoined the National Rifle Association. There's the plug for that because it just fit. And you've got Barrel Buddies and a clean gun for like $14.98 for a bag of 50 Barrel Buddies patented technology. Forget the patch and forget all that crap and the mess. Barrel Buddies have got you covered. You can also stock up on your ammo at ammosquared.com, ammosquared.com, and you can also pick up your emergency food supplies at heavensharvest.com, heavensharvest.com. Don't forget Bud's Gun Shop, our exclusive retailer as well. They have everything you need. Quang Nguyen, welcome back, Arizona State Representative and House Judiciary Chair. So North Carolina, let's move over to the states. North Carolina in 2 days is going to vote to override the governor's veto on constitutional carry. Do you care to harbor a guess here? I feel pretty good about the veto override. I don't know why, other than, they need a couple Republicans to switch. But I think when it comes to a veto override, with the pressure that they're under and they're being the only 2, they might want to override a Democrat governor just for the fun of it. And I think North Carolina becomes 30. What do you think? Am I right or wrong?
Oh, I'm very optimistic. And
yeah, me too.
Let's talk a little bit about constitutional carry. People said the same thing about Arizona. People are going to start shooting at each other, and everybody's got a gun. It's like the Wild West. In fact, it's the exact opposite. So constitutional carry is a good deal. So I hope they can do it and shove it into the governor's face.
Might as well get my mic live. I had it muted. Yeah, I agree with you. I keep going back to, I was in Arizona when Jan Brewer signed that bill. I was at the Scottsdale Gun Club. Big shout out to everybody at the Scottsdale Gun Club. Love you guys. Great place. And that was the general consensus. There was panic. People were thinking, oh man, all the trainers, nobody needs to require training anymore. No, they're so busy right now and have been over all these years. It's been over 10 years. When did it pass in Arizona? Was it 2010?
Yes, I think it's around 2010, 2012, somewhere around there. But
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, the crime rate didn't go up. People didn't die.
Right.
If anything at all, Arizona is a very polite environment, if you know what I mean.
Well, yeah. Because the bad guys know the good guys have guns.
Exactly.
And
you're driving out there, people don't go crazy.
An armed society is a polite society, right? A very true statement.
Absolutely.
A lot of people don't
how do you
understand
feel
that.
about it? Do you think they're going to be able to pass it?
Yeah, I think it's going to. I think
The
they're going to
override, they're going to have enough votes?
I think they're going to override it. Yeah, I do. I feel good about it. But again, ladies and gentlemen, I know a lot of you are listening in North Carolina. That's my personal opinion. I feel comfortable saying that. I feel good about it. Because now you're down when it comes down to a veto override, there's a lot of politics involved, okay? Votes will switch. Because now it's, do we really want to let this governor, because now it becomes political. Now it's going to be, all right, I didn't vote for it when it happened, and then I voted against overriding the veto. That doesn't look good in my district in the state to my voters. So, yeah, I think they do. But I no more than just a really good feeling. I'm trusting my gut.
Well, this is going to show you. This is actually going to show you what kind of Republicans you have in North Carolina.
Yes, it will.
It's that simple.
What kind of Republicans do you have in Arizona? Be careful.
Careful, I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah, careful.
Oh man, that's a rough one. Pretty good actually. So I would dare say Arizona is top 1 or 2 in the nation.
Lindy Rogers.
To Second Amendment friendliness. And, I think we're number 1. Just the fact that we have a couple of things going on. We have, you can't shut down two-way industry because it is now declared an essential industry during a pandemic or whatever emergency you may have. So that should put us right up in the top 5. And then on top of that, we have our own version of BLACA, which means you really can't sue the gun industry at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I would dare say Arizona is up there, number 1 or 2.
And PLACA, ladies and gentlemen, if you're new to the program, maybe you're not new and you've never heard it referred to, the acronym, that's the Protection of Lawful Commerce in Arms Act that Quang is referring to, and the state of Arizona has their own version, which is a beautiful thing. And that's what helps make Arizona such a gun-friendly place. Now, I do have lots of arguments with your state law, the sign carrying the weight of law and so forth with guns off limits. And you see a lot of that in Arizona. And I hate that because it just takes away from so much of the freedom. And for gosh sakes, if there's anything you can do to help Arizona, try to rid yourself of that. We don't have that problem here. I can carry a gun anywhere I want here as a law-abiding citizen for the most part, that I can't in Arizona because of those stupid signs that actually carry the weight of law. A sign here, I walk right past it if I choose to, or just not go in. If I'm asked to leave, I leave.
Yeah, my eyesight's are pretty bad. I tend to not see those signs. I don't know what you're talking about, Mark.
Well, I might have missed a few myself.
Yeah, there you go.
But
there you go. Hey,
I don't want to say that
to talk about HMAs and red flag law?
Yeah, well,
touch on the red flag law.
Are you asking if we have a red flag law here in Georgia?
No. Do you want to touch on it because Arizona is about to introduce a red flag law?
Yeah, let's go there next. That's what I want to cover with you is what's happening for the next legislative session. I'm sorry I misunderstood you. What's going on? What are the anti-gunners trying to push next in the great free state of Arizona?
So Chris Mays, our Attorney General, basically just came out a short time ago posting on X that her priority is to introduce a red flag law for schools and universities. So she's gonna try to push that. I'm sure she's gonna get a Democrat to introduce the law, and she's very optimistic that it's gonna be bipartisan. And it's gonna need a passage through the legislature. But somebody keep forgetting that all the gun bills go through my desk. They just keep forgetting that. I don't know why. So they're going to go through the motion. They're going to introduce another 30 gun bills, and the most significant one is going to be the red flag law. And it's going to have to go through my desk. And you know what's going to happen there, right?
Well, that's my next question. And those of you listening in Arizona, and many of you are, Quang, does a red flag law stand a chance in Arizona in the next session as the House Judiciary Chair who has to move those bills through your committee?
It's just not going to happen. So I think the Attorney General needs to sit down and chill down a little bit and have a Guinness or something, and then think about the amount of time wasted to have a legislator introduce the bill, and it's got to go through the lawyers and the staff members and everything, and then it goes on my desk and then it goes right into the shredder. So I don't know what's going on there, but he's hoping that it's going to be bipartisan. Well, it can't be bipartisan if it doesn't get off my desk.
Yeah, and Greg is laughing. Greg, I don't know if your mic is live, but I can hear Greg laughing in my ear, and it's getting kind of distracting because he's chuckling when you just said, it's going to go right into the shredder. Guys, I've seen that shredder in his office. It's real. It's not a metaphorical thing. It's real. I've seen it. I didn't hear it buzzing and whizzing and whirring and chopping and shredding, but the next time I'm out there, I want to feed something into it personally. When we come back, I do have a question about that Arizona red flag law bill, and I want to talk briefly because the same process will occur in your state, ladies and gentlemen, regardless of who's in control. And I want to talk with you, Quang, briefly about that, and then we'll move on to a couple more topics because, golly, we're already in the last segment coming up after this break in the second hour of the program. I warned you, folks, buckle in. This Talkers Heavy 100 show flies right along. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues right after the break. We'll see you on the flip side. Don't go away. One more segment with AZ Rep and House Judiciary Chair Quang Nguyen, the Shredder. We'll be right back.
Self-defense incident can happen anytime. That's why you need attorneys.
It's butthole surfers to me.
Defense program backed by real attorneys
Kind of,
who
yeah.
specialize in self-defense cases. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
All right, welcome back indeed. Fun break. Greg and I were talking here in the Car Firearms Group studios during the break, and Quang Nguyen, welcome back, Arizona State Rep and House Judiciary Chair. We were kind of chuckling here because I knew right where you were going with this, and I think it's kind of fun because you just told the Attorney General and the Governor on a live microphone being listened to throughout Arizona that your bill don't stand a chance. It's going right in my shredder. Now, that begs this question. When are you up for re-election?
I am going to be going into my very last term. So I have one more year in this term. And then I think November of 2026, I'll go into, August of 2026, I'll go into a primary.
Right,
and I already got a Republican getting ready to get rid of me. So
Okay. Well, and let me make this very clear, ladies and gentlemen. Here's the politics involved. It doesn't matter what state you're in. But it's my guess, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but the AG and the governor know you're going to be up for re-election. They're going to start relying on polls in Arizona show the vast majority of Arizona residents support a red flag law. They're already out there signaling that they expect it to be bipartisan. And then when it hits your shredder, they're going to blame you, and they're going to use that against you in a campaign. Could I be onto something? Is this the politics in play? Is this what they're going to attempt to do? Because we all know they don't like you.
Well, so here's the problem. They haven't elected me since I was elected in 2020. So I'm used to it. It's okay. You know, you come out of the communist war in Vietnam. I mean, everything else is just kind of like, nah, not important. But this is important. Let's say if I were to be replaced, right, by this one guy that's running against me in August of 2026. You replace me. The replacement may not be in the Judiciary Committee at all. It's up to the Speaker to assign these people in different position in different place. And not only the replacement may not be in the Judiciary Committee, that person will not be the chairman of Judiciary. So if you have a replacement who barely understood what the Second Amendment is, shall not be infringed, 4 out of 27 words, you may have a problem. Somebody may go to this guy and convince him, hey, this is common sense law, gun law here. Give it a hearing, and it just might work, and we can tweak it after we get it out of committee. You're going to hear all these different languages out there, kind of sort of soften the blow if they get the bill onto the floor. But I can tell you right now, you need somebody to just kill it and not be afraid of being unelected. And I'm not that guy. I'm not afraid to be unelected.
Arizona residents, pay careful attention. It's very possible that someone who replaced you, if they did at the chairman position anyway, might not have a shredder in their office, right?
Correct.
Okay? That's putting it in kind of fun terms. That, we all know Quang's got the shredder. How many bills did you shred over the past legislative session, which just recently came to a close?
Well, probably close to 30. But
Sine Die was
I've
when?
been the chairman in 2023, June 30th.
Okay.
So basically, this is what happened. If you look at 23, 24, and 25, I killed a total of 75 of 90. So the rest of them will kill on the Senate side. So we do have the Senate to thank for as well. But I killed 75 out of 90 in 3 years.
Folks, this is important stuff. Elections have consequences. And when you're talking about state level, it's very serious stuff. Because as we just mentioned, it's very possible that the next person that comes in, male or female, does not have a shredder on their desk or in their office. And I've seen that shredder. I love it. I should have taken a photo of it and didn't. But when that happens, ladies and gentlemen, it's very dangerous. Now, you have the Senate support for those other 15 bills, but other states don't. And you never know what's going to, because there's going to be a lot of politics going on here with this, because I can promise you they're going to use polls. Well, the vast majority of Arizonans support a red flag law. The vast majority of Americans or of Arizonans might not even know what a red flag law is and what it does to our constitutional rights and to due process, Quang. And it's going to, then it becomes a double fight for you, right? Now you've got a primary, now you've got to fight this, now you've got to fight all of this going on at one time, and it becomes tougher and tougher and tougher to do that. So it's very, very important that we keep you elected in the state of Arizona, at least for the next couple of terms. It's very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. If you're in Arizona, pay very careful attention to what you're hearing Quang talk about, because as you said, you've killed 75 bills over the last couple terms. That's huge. In every state, I can hear it now. God, I wish we had somebody like that. Imagine that, Jersey. Imagine what that would be like. That's what's called living in a free state, being able to shut the Democrats down, Quang. So congratulations. We applaud you for all of your efforts and fighting for the right to keep and bear arms. And the fact that they don't like you is a badge of honor. In fact, you should get a badge that says, I like not being liked by you. I see. I might even
I just might get myself a T-shirt like that.
I might make you one. There's no question about it. Hey, real quick before we go, Representative Tony Wyde is pushing a bill to block ammo and magazine restrictions around the country. He's a Republican out of Wisconsin. He's pushing legislation that would end arbitrary restrictions around the country, limiting magazine capacity to 10 rounds in some states, 15 in others. Ooh, this would be nice to see. And in Trump's America and Trump's DOJ, it's possible, isn't it?
It is possible. And so you remember a couple of years ago when I was at the gun rights conference with you? And one of the things I said was, magazines to me is 1,000 plus one. That's high capacity for me. That's just my definition of high capacity is 1,000 plus one. Thank God in the state of Arizona, we don't have limitations like that. But it's only a matter of losing the legislature to the Democrat, and boom, there you have it.
Yeah, the script will flip literally overnight. Quang, let's spend the remaining seconds we have. Gun Rights Policy Conference coming up September 26th, 27th, and 28th in Salt Lake City. You're going to be there, right?
I'm going to be there. Yes, sir.
So if
you on the 26th.
If you want to meet Quang and shake his paw, come out and do that in Salt Lake City, September 26th, 27th, and 28th, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I will be there on the 25th, have a meeting on the 26th. We'll be having dinner with everybody, and I'll be emceeing the event all day Saturday on the 27th. So if you want to come out and meet the heavy hitters, literally, of the gun rights movement, all the activists and a lot of the guests that you've heard on the program over the years, they will all be there in Salt Lake City. It is free to attend. Quang will be there as well as AWR Hawkins, Alan Gottlieb, and many, many, many others. You can visit saf.org/GRPC for Gun Rights Policy Conference. It's free to attend. You got to get yourself there, but the room rates are stupid crazy low. We always do it every single year. The mixers are free, all the food. You're going to have a great time, and you're going to be really banging heads with the best of the best out there and finding out what the fight is going to be like as we go into the next year. That's what the Gun Rights Policy Conference is all about. Quang Nguyen, thank you very much, my brother, for being here. We love you. You are a fan favorite for a reason, and everybody just found out why. And God bless you and that beautiful shredder that you have. If you live in Arizona, please support Quang in his district, whatever district you live in, as the House Judiciary Chair. He has a huge impact on your life, regardless of where you vote. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast continues with a classic roundtable right after this. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
In this week? Is he in for Ron?
Yeah, mics are live and cameras up. Hey, guys. So here's the layout in the roundtable for you coming up. Brad Primo is out on vacation. Paul Markle, student of the gun. The professor will be here again this week, filling in. Always have a great time with Paul. Ryan Petty will be here, as well as Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. And who knows? What happens in a roundtable happens in a roundtable. Pretty much that simple. And we'll go around the table and talk with these guys about whatever comes to mind. And if you're in the chat at Telegram and you want to ask any particular questions, now's the time to do it. And if it's worthwhile, we'll see if we have time to get to it. Because I'll be frank with you, I kind of let the roundtable just kind of take on a life of its own. I don't really do a whole lot of prep for the roundtable other than have a few bullet points. Clearly, the Michigan stabbing is going to come up. And I've already talked to Paul Markle a little bit via text message, so he's going to talk with you a little bit about being prepared and how to save lives in a situation like that, which was on great display in Michigan with first responders being the citizens who were there that no doubt saved lives before what the media would refer to as first responders, which really technically second responders. Official first responders being EMTs and law enforcement, et cetera. But the civilian just played a major, major role in Michigan, not just the one with the gun, but saving lives and helping people and stopping bleeding. Paul's going to talk all about that stuff, and we'll just kind of let it go from there. So if you have any ideas for the roundtable and you're in the chat, make sure to do that, put it in there, and we'll see if we can get to it. And we'll be back at 6 minutes after the hour coming up with Paul Markle, student of the gun, Parkland father Ryan Petty, and CEO of Car Arms, Justin Moon. We'll be right back, guys. All right, let's try this. Can't you hear me knocking riff one more time? Ah. Yep. Golly. You guys are learning with me. Yeah, I can't get that move down. Needs work. That's not work. That's fun. Martin, you're right. Show prep for the roundtable is trying to learn a new riff. Anybody that plays guitar knows it's not easy to play the Rolling Stones. They play in that open G. And if you play it accurately, that's the way you're playing it. But it's very difficult for me to make some of those maneuvers that Richards makes in that open G. So playing it on standard tuning requires a couple of different moves that you can get away with. It's not 100% accurate, but honest to God, do I really believe I'm going to play it like Keith Richards? Nope. That's what makes him a god. But learning sure is fun as crap. And in case anybody wants to know, that is not my Gibson Les Paul Standard Blueberry Burst. It is not the Gibson SG. That was the Epiphone Les Paul Standard Pro, much less expensive than the Gibson that I have, but still a great little guitar. And I had it restrung over the weekend with some 942 coated strings.
Gang's all here.
So I've been playing that a little bit this weekend just for fun, because you can't leave them sit, man. These things need to be played, and they're just so fun to play. Yeah, looks like we got the crew in. Oh, hey, don't turn on the AC, Greg. Wait until there's 2 minutes.
You were trying to bring the heat with the guitar, and you were distracted.
Yeah, right? Mike Barnes, thanks, brother. Needs work. Yeah, they do love clean strings, Martin. And, hey, Mike, let me put it this way. I was playing that before the show for a couple hours, and it sounded a lot better than that. And you pick it up now, it's like, okay. Practice, 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 bro. Little Epiphone Standard Les Paul Pros. Pretty good little guitar, honest to God. Barbara, I use a light 942 string. Coated. Big difference for me.
$30.
Yeah, Mike in the chat, that's not unusual. Hits all the notes when you're alone. That's, hey, man. With me, it's not being alone. It's how many times repetitively have I played that particular riff. Figure it out. I will tell you this. It sounds a lot better on the Les Paul than it does on the SG. It just plays better. At least that riff does. Not sure why. Guys, we're back at you live.
This is Armed American Radio.
If they want to take my guns, they're going to have to bring a station wagon and a whole lot of friends, because I'm not giving them anything.
From the Car Firearms Group studio at the Patriot Mobile Communication Center. Proudly presented to you by the National Rifle Association. National Rifle Association. Here is your host of Armed American Radio, the loudest conservative voice in America fighting for your rights, Mark Walters.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast Hour 3 begins right now. You are now a participant, member, listener of the classic Armed American Radio Roundtable here in the Car Firearms Group studios. With me, Mark Walters, filling your prescription for freedom today and every day, 6 days a week, in front of this powerful platinum microphone. Today, we are here in the Patriot Mobile Communication and Command Center, and we will have a new microphone sponsor coming up next week, and it's a good one. If you're in the chat, you already know who it is, because I reserved that specifically for you, but it's a big one, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm excited about it, and you will be too. Greg, welcome in. We're on Facebook.com/Armed American Radio. If you want to watch us live on that platform, you are certainly welcome to do so. Greg, where else can everybody watch us and participate in this chat for Inside Dope? And then we'll get cracking with the crew here at the Roundtable, brother.
Yeah, sure. You can also watch the show over on YouTube and Rumble. Just do a search for Armed American Radio with Mark Walters. Over on X, we're at AAR Mark. You can head over to armedamericanradio.org or .com, hit that menu icon, and select that watch live or listen live option to join our live chat. Just download Telegram, create your profile, and search for Armed American Radio Conversations.
And that'll do it. So I understand we have the whole crew with us. We ready to rock and roll, Greg? All right, let's do it. Let's start with Ryan Petty down in Florida. How you doing, my brother? Great to have you here. A regular member here with a seat with his name on the plaque at the round table. How you doing, brother?
Mark, it's great to be here. I'm doing well. Another sunny day in Florida.
Another hot day in Florida is what that means. I can tell you that much. Paul Markle, student of the gun out of Wyoming, the professor himself. We're looking forward to a conversation with you tonight about, well, medical issues, and we're going to go there with you shortly. Paul Markle, how are you, my friend?
Oh, I'm fantastic, and I'm ready to go. Just say the word.
Word. Oh, is it the word? There you go. The word. We're ready to rock and roll with you. And, of course, fan favorite, for a reason. You're, as we say down south of the Mason-Dixon line, you're fit to find out why, and that would be Car Arms CEO Justin Moon. Justin, welcome in, brother. How are you today?
Doing good, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure. You know, it's fun to look in the chat and see everybody in here say the best three, at the best hour of the three is always coming up in the roundtable, guys. So let's get started. And Ryan, I'll start with you. Now, sadly, you know more than anybody at this table and more than most people listening, unfortunately, about a mass attack. And, of course, you are Parkland father, so you understand that. I want to know what goes through your head with all of the work you've done on behalf of gun rights when you see a story break that came out of Michigan where we have a knife attack and you have 11 people wounded. Now, no deaths at this point, which is remarkable. And, Paul, we'll get to you in a second on that when we come back after this, because there's a reason that happened, ladies and gentlemen. Paul's going to explain why and what you need to know so that if you ever find yourself in that situation, you, too, can be a part of stopping that mass casualty event. But, Ryan, when you see something like that, and then you see an armed citizen respond, and the media just blow it right off, for the most part, don't even talk about it, and you know what an armed citizen can do, and the media blows it off. What goes through your mind, Ryan?
Oh my gosh, there's like 50 things that go through my mind. The first being, here we go again. That's number one. Number two, it's, are they, what happened, and are they going to focus on the weapon and not the bad guy, and why did he do it? And then third, I sit here and I look for the news coverage because I had heard that there was a defensive gun use here, and I'm looking at a headline. I'm sitting here on Newsweek.com right now looking at the headline, which says, Mark, Walmart stabbing. Video appears to show suspect being confronted. I don't know if you've seen the video. I watched the video. He's not appearing to be confronted. He was confronted, and he was confronted by a law-abiding gun owner that said, not on my watch. This garbage is going to stop, and he's going to be protected. And then the last thing that goes through my mind is, as I see some of these victims coming out, is you have got to have a medical kit. You've got to have medical training. You've got to be able to stop the bleeding wherever you are. If that's not part of your kit, make it part of your kit, because you don't know the time or the place when you're going to need that training and that medical kit.
Paul Markle, student of the gun. I'll just flip it right to you. You heard my question. You heard Ryan's response. Don't go into the medical issue. Save that one. We're going to take that up as another topic. But what went through your mind when you saw this? And then you knew.
Well, and what we have to accept as a society is, even though we may have good cops that are close by, 99% of the time they're not going to be right there. When it comes to a situation, a mass attack situation, whether it's gun, knife, whatever, only the people who are present at that moment in time will have the opportunity to change the outcome. And I hear people like, I'm just going to Walmart. I'm just going to the grocery. It's Walmart in the middle of the day in Traverse City. I've been to Traverse City many times. It's a beautiful area in Michigan, and it's extremely popular in the summer because of the cherry festival and so on and so forth. But it doesn't matter. You don't get to pick the day and time. That's decided for you. The only thing you get to do is decide whether or not you're going to be prepared to respond. And that's why we've been preaching the fundamental four for years and years and years. Lethal, sharp, bright, medical. If you leave your house without those four, you're wrong. you're just wrong.
Yeah, we're going to go into that in greater detail. So thank you for holding on to that. That's another topic. Justin Moon, CEO of Car Arms. I'm looking at Newsweek right now, live, and I pulled it up after Ryan mentioned it, and I see the headline he's talking about, but the headline on the top, without digging into it to get it to any subheads, who is Bradford James Gill? What we know about Walmart stabbing suspect, and I've just glanced through this whole piece. What to know, who is Bradford James Gill, what people are saying. Here's what Michigan governor had to say. Our thoughts are with the victims and the community reeling from this brutal act of violence. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bongino said in a post on X, FBI personnel are responding to provide any necessary support to the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's Office in their investigation of the attacks at Walmart. Joe Pennington, Walmart spokesman, told Newsweek in an email yesterday, violence like this is unacceptable. Our thoughts are with those who were injured, and we're thankful for the swift action of first responders. Now, we all know who Joe Pennington was referring to when he said first responders. That would be EMTs and cops. Justin, the first responders were the people involved in the second subheading below that Ryan read us, and that's the actual suspect being confronted by the real first responders who were the citizens. Justin, are you as frustrated as I am?
Well, we all know that the armed citizen is the first responder for most violent situations. So we really have a public duty, especially in America, where we were founded as a republic. You know, each citizen has a duty and a responsibility to protect their fellow citizen in the society, and so therefore we should all be protectors and sheepdogs, and we should all carry at all times.
And thank God they were there. Ryan, let's move down now. In the first headline that I just read, there's not one mention, not from the governor. Now, why do you suppose? Let's just take it piece by piece. Let's just go into the weeds. Why do you suppose that Gretchen Whitmer didn't say our thoughts are with the victims and the community reeling from this brutal act of violence, and our thoughts and prayers and our congratulations go out to the first responders who were there and responded, one with a firearm, naming that individual. We thank them for their bravery. Why wouldn't Whitmer say something like that?
Because it doesn't fit the narrative, Mark.
So
and
politics.
The narrative.
Go ahead.
Politics trumps. Politics trumps, right? This is all about control. And the narrative is it's always a guy with a gun. It's always the fact that we don't have enough gun control. And the only time they praise the first responders are, in a situation like this. The rest of the time it's defund the police, or the police are, too aggressive, or whatever the complaint is. So this one does not fit the narrative, and so what she left with? She's left with thoughts, not prayers, because she's not going to say that. That's all she's got. That's all she's got. They have crafted a carefully planned narrative, and when anything goes outside the narrative, they don't know how to respond.
Right, when we come back, and you are spot on, I'll leave it at that. We're going to a break. When we come back, I want to quote Noel Mogenberg, Paul, and I'll take it to you, who is the prosecuting attorney for Grand Traverse County, discussing this random act of violence. And like you, Paul, I have spent many years up in Traverse City. I used to ski Torch Lake all the time. It is a gorgeous area. It's not a place you would expect this, ladies and gentlemen, because remember, you're just going to Walmart in Traverse City. It's safe. We'll be right back. The following segment of Armed American Radio is proudly being brought to you by the National Rifle Association. Help us defend freedom by visiting nra.org/AAR and join today. Welcome back to the show. Yeah, welcome back indeed, ladies and gentlemen. Please join the National Rifle Association. You can visit them at nra.org/AAR. Take advantage of the free stuff that the NRA has given me to give to you. It's not a contest. If you join the National Rifle Association, you get a free range bag for the 1-year or 3-year membership. It is a no-brainer. If you join the National Rifle Association or rejoin the National Rifle Association with a 5-year or life membership, you get the binoculars. And one of you, when the giveaways are gone, and that will happen soon, when they're gone, one of you is going to be drawn from all of you who did that, and one of you is going to win an extra range bag, a different range bag, loaded with swag from all of our partners at Armed American Radio. And it's going to be worth a lot of money. So it's not something you want to miss out on. Take advantage of it. You might win it. I love giving that stuff away. It's a lot of fun, and we don't do enough of it. We should, but we are now. And we're doing it in conjunction with the National Rifle Association, who is out there fighting every single day in state after state after state across the country. National Rifle Association, nra.org/AAR, and all of our great partners. We'll talk about more of them as we move through this hour. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com. Let's go now to Paul Markle, student of the gun. Paul, hold on to that, to that life-saving. We're going to go to that as a separate topic, as I said before. But I want to read for you a statement from Noel Mogenberg, who is the prosecuting attorney for Grand Traverse County. And I want to thank those of you in the chat. I'm going to use this right now, but somebody put up a, I guess we'll call it an electoral map, county by county. In Michigan, like many blue states, bright red everywhere, except for little pockets of blue where the population centers are. All by its lonesome up there in the top northwest corner is one little blue county, Paul, and that's Grand Traverse up there, okay? And I also want to point out that that's where Michael Moore calls home. He's from Michigan, and he has a home on Torch Lake, a multi-million-dollar waterfront property, but he hates capitalism nonetheless. But Michael Moore hails from up that way as well. It kind of put a stench on Torch Lake. But nonetheless, you got this blue area, blue prosecutor, and here's what she had to say. There will be community counseling centers to offer free counseling to any community members. Paul, I'd like to ask you, why didn't Noel Mogenberg thank the hero who held that scumbag at gunpoint and say, guys, this just points out why armed citizens work. If you're interested in becoming an armed citizen, reach out to our office. We will put you in touch with trainers where you can be trained, where if you want information on getting a permit, et cetera, blah, blah. Why didn't she say that or something like that?
Well, it's a rhetorical question, Woodcock. But
yes, it is. Intentionally so. Woodcock.
The fact of the matter is, if you read there's a lot of stories out there, and most of them are just carbon copies of the other. But there were a couple that talked. There was not just one, but there were two individuals, both former United States Marines, I might add. The guy with the gun in the parking lot, but the other guy didn't have a gun, and shame on him for being a former Marine and not having a gun on him, but I'll deal with him later. But he grabbed a shopping cart and attacked the dude with the shopping cart and essentially drove him out of the store into the parking lot, where the gentleman with the gun saw what was going on and was able to draw his gun and hold him at gunpoint. There was a guy who didn't even have a weapon on his body, who just knew that was the right thing to do, was to go after this guy. And obviously that is the right thing to do. But what it should have been is there should have been 50 people smashing into this guy with shopping carts, is what it should have been. And he shouldn't have taken two steps. Can we be honest? Let's go ahead and be honest with each other.
This is Armed American Radio. I know where you're going.
If you have a well-trained armed populace, the moment someone screamed he's got a knife and this guy's flashing and stabbing, he should have been dropped right there. He should have been shot into the ground so that he could. And you need to understand this, ladies and gentlemen. If somebody attacks you with a knife or is in a crowd with a knife, hitting them one time with a bullet, they might bleed out eventually. Okay, but you don't want them to stop eventually. You want them to stop right now, this second. And the only way to do that is to put enough ballistic encouragement into their body so that they stop stabbing grandmothers in the pharmacy line. So, good job to these dudes. But let me tell you what, Michigan, shame on you. There should have been 50 adult men and women who shot this guy into the ground.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. In fact, I agree wholeheartedly. Justin Moon, CEO, Car Arms. I'll just let you take off on what you heard from Paul, because I think you'll agree with that. And I do want to throw this caveat out, Paul, and Justin, I'll throw it to you. But if you are legally able to draw your firearm in self-defense, you are able to fire it as well. Justin.
Well, I think a lot of these large corporations, including Walmart, have created a culture where they discourage their patrons from carrying guns in their premises.
True story.
So I think, the problem here is that maybe corporations, if they take an anti-gun stance, should be liable if somebody is injured in their store because they were discouraged from carrying a weapon.
Yeah, you're right on. I don't know what that policy is up there. Ryan, as you hear this conversation begin to develop and grow as we go around the table, everything Paul just said was what's on everybody's minds, and we've had a number of conversations about that earlier. We're not talking about it in those terms, ladies and gentlemen, because that's not actually what happened, but what Paul said is absolutely correct. And I do want to throw this out. If you are legally justified to pull your firearm, you are also legally justified to use your firearm because of that situation. Ryan, take it away.
Look, Paul's 100% correct. And if we had an armed, educated, informed, and trained citizenry, the kind that doesn't pull out their cell phone when somebody pulls out a knife or a gun, but the kind that pulls out a firearm and ends the hostility immediately, this stuff would stop happening. You and I and the roundtable wouldn't have anything to talk about this week if we had an armed, educated, and prepared citizenry. And unfortunately, we've allowed the left to dictate not only how we feel about firearms, but whether we carry them in self-defense, and we've allowed corporations to tell us, whether or not we should carry. Now, I don't think Walmart prohibits the carrying of firearms, but they certainly don't, they don't look at it, encourage it. Let me put it that way. And so I think Justin's idea of creating, there should be additional liability, because here's what I'm learning from our panel tonight. Number one, you are your own first responder. I've said this 100 times, but you are. The police are not going to be there 99% of the time. You need to be. And if somebody, and if that's a corporation or another person, prevents you from being able to defend yourself, they should be liable for any injuries that you or the others around you sustain because of their ignorance.
I'll leave it at that. And Martin in the chat says, bingo, Justin. If you deny me the right to defend myself, then you should step up and actively protect me. And I'll throw on what Ryan just said. You should be held liable if you deny me the right to defend myself and you are harmed. When we come back, I'm going to give you my own Walmart story briefly. Then we're going to turn it over to Paul, because you need to hear what he has to say about this, because you are a first responder. We'll be right back. live. The camera's up. You don't turn the AC on there, home stretch.
What it's there for?
Golly. Welcome back, guys. Let's get cracking, shall we?
Hi, I'm Dr. Sebastian Gorka, letting you know that the Desperado Sport Fishing Crew in Virginia Beach, Virginia supports Armed American Radio and our right to bear arms. Now, back to Mark Walters.
All right, guys, welcome back inside the Car Firearms Group studios with me. Thank you, Dr. Gorka, for that rejoin. We love you, have for a long time, and hopefully we'll see you at SHOT Show coming up in January, which, believe it or not, Greg, in Dallas is right around the corner, bro. It's time is flying right by. We're getting close to September for the Gun Rights Policy Conference and all that fun stuff. Guys, welcome back. I want to point out something because this is very reminiscent of something, Paul, when you mentioned that, it's a Walmart, we're just going to Walmart, et cetera. A year ago, late spring, I was on my way to Walmart. I had the top down in my car, late spring. It was a beautiful sunny day. And as I'm going through this little town that I live in, it's a little 2-traffic light, one-horse town. And as I'm coming up a little rise, on the other side comes a Dodge Challenger at a very high rate of speed that goes airborne and clips a telephone pole in the southbound lane. Hits the telephone pole, spins, and goes into about a 10-foot to 15-foot retaining ditch and just disappeared in a cloud of dust and dirt. I backed up, and at that time the wires were shaking from the telephone pole, and I thought for sure wires were going to come down on top of the car. And that was the first thought went through my head was, man, this thing's going to hit me, and I got the top down. I'm dead. I was able to get around that, back up, and go down to see if I could help. By that time, other cars had pulled and had done the same thing, and there was a guy climbing out of this ditch with a child, about 3-4 years old. I told this story on the air right after it happened, the week that it happened. And he's climbing out of the ditch and starts moving across the street. I'm openly carrying a sidearm, clearly visible on my right hip. That's when somebody yells, he just robbed somebody and hit 3 people at the Walmart. That's why he was running. So this guy was in the commission of active felonies at that moment in time. He glances down, gets into the middle of the street, begins to back up, looks at my firearm, looks back up at me, and moves his child in front of him as a human shield and begins to slowly back up. It was clear that he was getting ready to run, and he was yelling to other people that there was someone else in the car that needed help. That was all a ruse. Come to find out, I began following him across the street at about a 10-foot distance. He's got the child in front of him. I was absolutely legally able to draw that firearm and hold that felon at gunpoint. I chose not to because he was holding a child. If he had drawn a firearm, which I did not know if he had a gun, I still don't. If he had pulled a gun with that child in front of him, if I had to return fire when I saw the gun, he had a child right in front of his chest. I decided at that moment in time I'm not going to draw the firearm, but he knew I had it. He began to back up and eventually took off back into the woods. Child was found about an hour later. Cops were all over the place within minutes. Helicopters were buzzing around, and he was busted. And hopefully he's doing a significant amount of time because he's a dirtbag. Paul, the reason I mention that is because it can happen, and it does happen. And when it does, it's in a split second. Now, this made all the papers and all the local news in the Atlanta metro area. And, we were interviewed by cops for a lengthy amount of time. Cops were asking me about the gun. Did I draw my sidearm, et cetera? Why didn't I? I could have. They were very friendly. But because of the child and this guy's scumbag coward using his kid as a human shield, I determined at the time, which remarkably very clear thought process at the time, I recall. I didn't seem too razzed by it. But I remember everything as if it were yesterday. Paul, so it does happen, and it can happen to you. What do we need to know if it does happen to you and you're in that Michigan parking lot at that Walmart and there are injuries, even if it's the perp, and somebody's bleeding out, there are stab wounds, there's 11 people. What do you need? What kind of knowledge do we need, Paul? Let's take it into that now.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and set this up. Screw the perp. I'm not putting my hands in his hepatitis C blood. The EMTs could do that. But when it comes to, and when I teach the medical classes, I teach the Beyond the Boo-Boo traumatic medical classes. I tell people that when I get them in the classroom, very beginning, I say, close your eyes. And if you're driving, please don't do this. And I said, imagine the people that you see every day when you wake up in the morning. Imagine the faces of the people that ride in the car with you every day. And then I say, all right, open your eyes. I said, that's why you're here. You're here for those people, because those are the people you're going to have to keep alive while you're waiting for the ambulance to show up. And in a situation like this, if you're a good person, you're going to want to do something.
Right.
However, wanting to do something and having the ability to do something are not the same thing. And hoping that you'll, quote, just magically rise to the occasion is a fool's errand. You will not rise to the occasion. You will default to the level of training that you have mastered. And if you have mastered watching movies and TV shows where people carry guns, then that is your training, and that's not training. And also, before it happens, you need to be able to answer the big questions. The ability, opportunity, intent. When it comes to deadly force, are you absolutely sure? And you have to be absolutely sure. Now, once you go through the training and you get the education, that's not a problem. But I think a lot of people carry guns like they're good luck charms.
Mm-hmm.
They don't go to training because I'm a smart person and I know what to do. And you just point it and pull the trigger. It's not hard.
Yeah, and it's not going to happen anyway. It's really not.
Yeah, and it probably won't, but I'll just carry it anyway just in case. It's not a good luck charm. If you're carrying a gun, you need to look in the mirror and say, and have that hard question, or that hard conversation with yourself and say, could I use this effectively? And, when you say, oh, it was his child. What if it was your child?
Mm-hmm.
What if it was your child? Could you take the shot? Do you have enough confidence in your abilities to take the shot? Are you going to let someone grab your child and take off, not knowing if you'll ever see them alive again? Could you do that? These are tough questions. And that's why we put ourselves in tough situations, in stressful situations, in a controlled environment of training, so that we can answer those questions in the positive.
Yeah, and you're also going to go through the adrenaline dump, ladies and gentlemen. Time has a way to slow down on you. You go through some tunnel vision. I've experienced it in this type of situation twice. I did pull my firearm on 2 individuals a number of years ago, and I understand that situation far better now than I did even then. Justin Moon, I think it was you that said that we are obviously our own first responders, and I think this case really exemplifies that for the nation more so than others do because of the quote-unquote mass casualtiness of this event in Walmart, where you had numbers of people that were scattered throughout the parking lot and out front and within the store, where something like this is just a reminder to each and every one of us, Justin, that if we are not, I'm not knocking EMTs and cops, okay, as first responders. I get that moniker. I understand that title. But they're second responders, Justin. They're the second people there. And I don't want to get redundant with you. You've already mentioned it, but I would like your comments on what you heard from Paul and the fact that you were the one that mentioned we are our own first responders. Go ahead, Justin.
You're absolutely right, Mark. Christ calls us to be our brother's keeper, and so the best way we can protect and keep our brothers is by being armed and defending them when the need arises. Absolutely.
And to not be afraid to do that, Ryan. And, I think this goes back to a philosophical thing. We hear Paul ask these questions. Are you capable of doing that? Would you be capable of taking that shot, et cetera? I'm pretty good with my guns, and if I would do what I had to do, but I know my limitations, Ryan, but under extreme stress and duress, do you? And that's why you have to train for it. You have a place to train on your own ranch. Ryan, we're coming up to the break, so I'll set this up. When we come back, I'll go to you so I don't have to interrupt you quickly. But you have a place to train, and you understand more than most people the end result of a very bad situation when no one is there to help. When we come back, we'll turn it over to Ryan Petty, and we've got one more segment with the roundtable. We'll throw out there whatever we can. Who knows? The conversation just develops in the roundtable kind of on its own. It always does. It's what makes it such a great hour. Armed American Radio's Monster Cast will continue right after this. please take the opportunity to visit all of our great partners. You can find them all at armedamericanradio.com, armedamericanradio.com. And I'm going to say this for Greg's benefit. You're listening to Talkers Heavy 100 host Mark Walters. This is the Armed American Radio Network. We'll be back right after the break.
This segment is brought to you by Attorneys on Retainer. Get the only self-defense program for gun owners backed by a real law firm, the Attorneys for Freedom. Visit them online at attorneysonretainer.us. Welcome back.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. That's an absolute no-brainer. Smack yourself in the head. Just do it type of thing, okay? If you're being offered an attorney for $35 a month that specializes in nothing but self-defense and you carry a firearm or any weapon for that matter, you need to do that, okay? That's one of those no-brainers. This is one of those situations you do not want to find yourself in and go, man, why didn't I listen to that dope on the radio? He's right. Now it's $200,000 retainer. Now I got to mortgage my home. Now I'm going to go broke. I'm going to go bankrupt. My kids got to come out of school. I might not be able to get through this financially. You really want to depend on a free attorney in courtroom? No, you don't. $35 a month is basically free for having an entire team of experienced attorneys who do nothing but defend you in self-defense cases. It's that simple. Don't be one of those people that looks back and says, good Lord, why didn't I do this? Attorneysonretainer.us. Very proud to have them as a partner. Great company. We're going to be having Mark Victor and another attorney on coming up this week. We worked that out last week for you. Love when the self-defense attorneys come on the program and talk about these scenarios. And here we are talking about self-defense scenarios right now. So please do yourself a solid. Take advantage of these great partners that we have that offer these great discounts. You get $50 off, and it's only $35 a month. I just paid my monthly bill with them. It's $25 a head if you got family. And all four of us carry guns, $25 per pop. And it is peace of mind. Every single member of my family has an attorney if, God forbid, they have to use their firearm in self-defense. It is not as cut and dry as the scenarios you like to come up with in your own mind, ladies and gentlemen. So think about that, please. It's real simple to do. You can either visit attorneysonretainer.us.com/AAR, or you can just click on their logo right on the front page of our website. And many of you have done that. We appreciate that. Please take advantage of this. All of our great partners, you can find them all, including Bud's Gun Shop, Heaven's Harvest, all of them, and Car Arms, Crossbreed Holsters. They're all at ArmedAmericanRadio.com. Ryan Petty, I'm going to turn it back over to you. Your final advice before I go back to Paul, because something popped up when I was watching this video I want to ask him about. No doubt it will take us around the table for the remainder of the segment. Go ahead, Ryan.
Look, a couple things. I'm just honored to be a part of this group, and I really can't add to anything that Paul said. I just wish every American was listening to your show right now. I'm sure you do too, but and got to hear what Paul said and the advice that he has to say. We've got to look at our loved ones and understand that we are their first responders and they are ours, and it's going to take training to make sure that in that moment of stress that you talked about, Mark, that you are not only prepared and understand what needs to be done, but that you have tested yourself and you can act in that moment where a loved one, a friend, a neighbor is going to need you. Everybody ought to listen to what Paul said.
Yeah, and even if they're not there, ladies and gentlemen, great point, Ryan. Even if your loved ones aren't there, they need you there, ladies and gentlemen. Do this for yourself. Paul, the Toller drill. I have to go here because when I was looking at the video again, that somebody out there was filming in the parking lot with phones. We know that's going to happen in today's day and age. And the Facebook video eventually went viral and forced outlets like Fox and CNN and all the other left-wing outfits out there to have to cover the fact that there was an armed citizen there because it was caught on video. As much as they loathe doing that, they were forced to do it. Maybe Newsweek, if you're paying attention, can get off their duffs and do the same thing. But the Toller drill is also known as the 21-foot rule, Paul. You know that from law enforcement. And that is what that drill found, ladies and gentlemen, is the time it takes to clear the 21-foot distance with someone who might be armed with a knife, for example. And the knife is the one that we use in the Toller drill example all the time, because what it does is it highlights the importance of reactionary gap, Paul, and we have found in the Toller drill, and I've participated in the Toller drill. It's quite frightening, actually, because 21 feet out, someone with a knife at a dead stop, if you do not have your handgun drawn, can clear that gap from a dead stop in under 2 seconds. The average came out to 1.8 seconds. That person with a knife can be on top of you. Paul, as I was watching this video again, there's about a 5-foot gap between the individual with a gun and another individual who is unarmed, yelling at this individual with nothing in front of him. The shopping cart guy was behind them, okay? Screaming, put the knife down, put the knife down. If that dude wanted to lunge and wanted to die by suicide by citizen armed, he could have cut the shreds out of that other guy in a split second, Paul. I'd like your advice on that.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually did that with wax bullets in the academy way back in the olden days. But one of the things that you need to understand about the Tula drill is it's not just you have your gun out. It's you need to get off the X.
Right.
Because your handgun bullets are not, this is not a movie. It's not a Clint Eastwood movie, etc. Just because you shoot them, they are not going to fly backwards. That's not how physics works. And if they're charging at you and your feet are flat, not moving, yeah, you might hit them with a bullet, and maybe they'll bleed to death later. But if you end up with a buck 110 sticking out of your carotid artery, that's not a win. And most people never move their feet when they shoot on the range.
Yeah.
Most people never move their feet because they go to, either you go to indoor ranges where you can't, or you don't want to do that because I don't get super tight groups and I don't look cool or what have you. That's why you have to go to training. That's why you have to go to professional training. Because if you think, well, I will, if it's important, I will do it. No, you won't.
Yeah.
No, you won't. There's a lot, you've got to get off the X. You've got to move. Do you have the confidence in your own ability to move and shoot at the same time? And brother, don't ever let somebody with a knife get that close to you.
Oh no, gosh, no.
You need to have it. It needs to be leveled at their chest.
Yeah.
And you should be moving your feet.
All the more reason that this guy should have been dropped, Paul. Paul, I have to stop you there.
This is a wake-up call.
Yeah, it is truly a wake-up call, ladies and gentlemen. If you've not seen this video, see the video, please. And take heed of what you're hearing here in this discussion with everything that you've just heard. Justin Moon, let me flip it over to you. The Rod of Iron Festival is coming up really fast, bro. It's going to be the second week of October before we know it. Tell us about it real quick. You've got 30 seconds. Take it away, bro.
Well, we got General Flynn's scheduled to come. Jack
nice.
Posobiec will be. So it's going to be a great time. There's a lot changing right now with the festival going forward, but we'll talk about it when you get there.
Yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, October is going to be in the blink of an eye, and it was funny as I think about this. Tom Homan spoke last year to open up the festival. He was number one. Of course, Tom's going to be a little bit busy right now heading up ICE and ridding the country of all the criminals, doing Trump's work for him and clearing these criminals out of this country. God bless him for what he's doing. And then Jack Posobiec spoke, and then I had to speak after both those guys, Justin. I was like, oh, no, how am I going to do this? But I think we pulled it off okay. I'm so looking forward to the Rod of Iron Festival. It comes up in about the second week of October, ladies and gentlemen, around the 12th. We'll make sure to talk about it when we get closer and closer to that date. And it will be quick. Remember, the Gun Rights Policy Conference, September 26th, 27th, and 28th, Salt Lake City. It's free to attend. Just get yourself there. Room rates are great. It's at the Marriott in downtown Salt Lake City. Justin Moon, thank you, brother, for everything that you do at Car Arms, for everything that you do for Armed American Radio, making it one of the Talkers Heavy 100 in the country, one of the 100 most important radio programs in the nation for 2025. Fantastic. Thank you, Justin Moon. Ryan Petty, Parkland Father, thank you for all of your wit and wisdom. We love you at this seat. Big shoes to fill if you're ever on vacation, brother. And Paul Markle, thank you for being here, student of the gun, filling in for Brad Primo. And we'll talk to you on Friday. Paul is a regular on Armed American Radio's Daily Defense every Friday. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy what's left of your day. Armed American Radio is going to get up and do it again tomorrow precisely because they don't want us to. Stay safe. We'll see each and every one of you on the radio tomorrow, 4 to 5 Eastern.
You just filled your prescription for freedom with Mark Walters, presented by the National Rifle Association. The National Rifle Association on the Armed American Radio Network.
All right, guys, really good hour. All 3 hours were great. We appreciate you being here. The roundtable's always a blast, incredibly informative. Paul Markle, man, really brings it in, doesn't he? He's so good and has so much information. Make sure to check him out. Student of the Gun. You can get it at sotgu.com, sotgu.com, Student of the Gun. I was remiss in not mentioning that during the live broadcast, but that's okay. You got it here. sotgu.com for Student of the Gun. And Paul's written more books than he can count. I've lost track. dozens and dozens of books about these very topics. Make sure to check them out. Thanks for being here. Carry on, carry often, carry absolutely everywhere. Never, ever, ever leave your cave without your club. No self-respecting caveman would have ever been caught outside his cave without his club. Enjoy what's left of your day, your evening, wherever you are across the country. Stay safe. We'll see you on the radio tomorrow, 4 Eastern, 1 Pacific. Stay safe, guys.